An American who wants to feel richer usually tries to earn more. A Japanese person who wants to feel richer simply needs less. And that one difference quietly changes everything. In America, the answer to almost every problem is to buy something. In Japan, wealth gathers in the space between the things you don't buy. It isn't deprivation, and it isn't willpower. It's a set of daily habits so ordinary that no one over there even calls them saving. Today I'll walk you through 10 of them, ordered from the ones that save you the most money to the ones that save the least, so you can start at the top and feel the difference right away. And stay with me to the end, because habit number 1 is the simplest of them all, yet it's the quiet key that makes every other habit on this list actually work. If a calmer relationship with money is something you want more of, consider subscribing before we begin. It's free, and it's how you'll catch what comes next. Habit 10. Bento, Biandang, the meal you carry. We start at the top of the countdown with the biggest saver of all, because for most people, it's the single largest leak in the whole budget. In Japan, the bento, the packed meal, is not a sad desk lunch. It's a small art form, a box arranged with care in the quiet of the morning, and beneath its beauty is one of the most powerful money habits in the world. Consider the arithmetic of a life. A meal bought outside might cost 4 or 5 times what the same meal costs made at home. Do that once, and it's nothing. Do it every working day for a year, and you've spent thousands of dollars on the simple fact of not having planned ahead. Think about what actually happens when you don't bring a meal. Noon arrives, and with it hunger, and hunger is the enemy of good decisions. You buy something quick, something more expensive than you meant, and often something that leaves you tired by mid-afternoon. The bento removes that entire moment of weakness. The choice was made in the calm of the morning, not in the pressure of the day. And that's the hidden principle behind so much of saving money, that the decisions we make calmly in advance are almost always kinder to us than the ones we make in the heat of a need. The bento is that principle, made into a box you can hold. It's not about eating less. It's about deciding once with care, instead of paying a premium to decide again every single day. Picture the 2 mornings side by side. In one, you leave the house with nothing, and somewhere around noon, a stranger behind a counter decides what your lunch will cost. In the other, you spend 5 quiet minutes before you go, filling a small box with something you already own, and by the time hunger arrives, the question is already answered. That's the real gift of the bento. It isn't only the money, though the money is enormous over a year. It's the feeling at noon of opening a box and knowing that someone was looking out for you, and that someone is you. There's a quiet dignity in taking care of your own small needs, in refusing to hand the most ordinary moments of your day over to a cash register. Once you feel it, the old way starts to seem strange, almost careless, and going back becomes something you simply don't want to do. Habit 9. Ocha. Ocha. The cup you bring from home, number 9, is so small it feels almost too simple to matter, and yet over a year it rivals the one before it. It's the tea habit, Ocha. In Japan, tea is not a purchase you make on the way to work. It's something you make at home, pour into a flask, and carry with you. Think about what a cafe drink costs, and then think about doing that every single day. It's one of the largest invisible expenses in modern life. Thousands of dollars a year spent in small, forgettable amounts on something you could make at home for pennies. But this habit isn't really about denying yourself a treat. It's about reclaiming a ritual. The things we buy on the way to work, the coffee, the snack, the quick convenience, we tell ourselves we're buying the item. But we're really buying a feeling, a small moment of warmth and pause in a rushed morning. The trouble is that the feeling is real and the price is real, and we pay the price again and again for a feeling we could give ourselves for almost nothing. When you make your own tea and carry it with you, you're not giving up the moment of calm. You're keeping it and keeping the money too. And unlike a diet you abandon within weeks, this one lasts because it doesn't feel like sacrifice. It feels like coming home to yourself each morning. The savings are simply the quiet byproduct of a better ritual. And notice how the numbers hide in plain sight. A single cup on the way to work feels harmless, almost too small to think about. That's exactly why it's dangerous. Multiply that small, forgettable amount by 5 days, then by 50 weeks, and you're looking at the cost of a vacation, poured out 1 cup at a time into a paper cup you throw away 20 minutes later. The tea flask you carry from home holds the same warmth, the same pause, the same small comfort, but it lets you keep the vacation. This is the pattern behind almost every habit on this list, that the largest expenses in a modern life rarely announce themselves. They arrive disguised as tiny, reasonable, everyday choices. Learn to see the year hiding inside the single cup, and you'll never look at that morning stop the same way again. Habit 8. Wabishabi, Chaji. Buy once, not 5 times. Number 8 reaches into how you buy everything you keep, and it saves you not once but for years. It's the spirit of Wabishabi, the appreciation of the timeless, the imperfect, the enduring. In a world built on trends, Wabishabi is quietly radical. It says that a thing does not need to be new to be beautiful, and it does not need to be fashionable to be good. Think about how much money is lost to trend. The furniture bought because it's in style and replaced when the style changes. The clothes worn a season and discarded. The endless churn of upgrading things that still work perfectly well. The great engine of overspending is not need. It's restlessness, the quiet dissatisfaction that a whole industry is built to create and then to sell you the cure for. New is marketed as better. Different is marketed as necessary. So we replace things that were perfectly good, not because they failed us, but because we were made to feel they were no longer enough. The Wabishabi mind steps out of that current entirely. It buys fewer things, chooses them slowly, and chooses them to last. A well-made wooden table that grows more beautiful with every scratch. A coat that will still be right in 20 years. This is not about spending less in the moment. It's about spending once instead of 5 times. Learn to see the beauty in the worn handle of a familiar cup, and the restlessness quiets, and with it goes the single largest leak in almost every budget, the endless upgrade of a life that was already good enough. Think of the last thing you replaced that wasn't actually broken, a phone that still worked, a couch that was still comfortable, a perfectly good coat given up because new shape had appeared in a shop window. None of those replacements felt like waste in the moment. Each one felt like an improvement, a small step up. That's the trick of it. The upgrade never feels like the leak, and yet nothing empties a bank account more steadily than a life spent replacing things that were fine. Wabishabi is the deliberate decision to stop, to look at what you already own, and find it enough, even beautiful, precisely because it has been used and lived with. A person who can do that has stepped off a treadmill most people never even notice they're running on, and the money they keep is the money everyone else is quietly handing back to the shops, season after season. Habit 7. Dansshari, Duanshili. Cut the invisible drains. Number 7 stops the money that leaves without you ever noticing. It's called Dansshari, made of 3 characters meaning refuse, dispose, and separate. Most people hear it and think of decluttering a closet, but Dansshari is really a financial philosophy in disguise. It's the practice of refusing what you don't need before it enters your life, releasing what no longer serves you, and separating yourself from the desire to acquire. Here is where it touches your money most sharply. Look at the recurring drains, those subscriptions you forgot you had, the memberships you don't use, the automatic renewals quietly leaving your account every month for things you stopped needing long ago. The whole architecture of modern spending is designed to be forgotten. Companies count on your inattention. They build their profits on amounts just large enough to matter over a year, and just small enough to escape your notice each month. Dansshari is the deliberate act of turning to face all of it, not once in a panic, but as a calm, seasonal ritual, the way you might change the batteries in a smoke detector. You sit down. You look at every recurring charge. You ask, honestly, does this still serve the life I'm actually living? And you let go of everything that doesn't. It's a small afternoon of work, a few times a year, and it routinely returns hundreds, sometimes thousands, of dollars. A person who practices Dansshari isn't cheap. They're free from the slow bleed of things they never chose on purpose. Picture actually sitting down and reading your own bank statement line by line, slowly, the way you'd read a letter. Most people never do this. It feels tedious, even a little frightening. But almost everyone who tries it has the same experience, a quiet shock at how many small charges they'd completely forgotten. The app they used once, the trial that became a subscription, the service they meant to cancel a year ago. Each one survives only because no one ever looks. Dansshari is simply the decision to look on purpose at a calm afternoon without guilt. You're not punishing yourself. You're reclaiming choices that were quietly made on your behalf. And when it's done, nothing about your daily life feels any smaller because you only cut the things you'd already stopped using. That's the strange beauty of it. You lose nothing you'll miss, and you keep money you didn't even know was leaving. Habit 6. Kaizen, Gaishan, the small fix that prevents the big one. Number 6 is the one that saves you from the disasters, the 4-figure repair bills that empty a savings account overnight. It's called Kaizen, which means continuous improvement, a word famous in business but born in daily life. Kaizen is the practice of the small, constant, almost invisible fix. The loose screw tightened before the shelf falls, the drip addressed before it rots the wood, the 5 minutes of maintenance today that prevent the $5,000 repair next year. Most expensive disasters in a home don't arrive suddenly. They announce themselves quietly, weeks or months in advance, in a small sound, a small stain, a small stiffness in a door. The instinct in much of the West is to wait until something breaks completely and then pay dearly to replace it. The Kaizen mind does the opposite. It attends to the small thing while it's still small, when the fix costs almost nothing but a moment of attention. Think of your home, your car, even your body, as things that whisper before they scream. Kaizen is the habit of listening to the whisper. And there's a peace in it beyond the money, the peace of never being ambushed by a problem you could have seen coming, of living in a world that feels steady and cared for, rather than one that might break at any moment. There's a particular kind of stress that comes with the sudden, unexpected expense, the bill you didn't plan for, the thing that fails all at once and demands money you'd set aside for something else. That stress isn't really about the money. It's about the ambush, the feeling of being caught off guard by your own life. Kaizen dissolves it. When you tend to small things constantly, nothing has the chance to grow large enough to ambush you. The dripping tap gets a new washer before it warps the cabinet. The strange sound in the car gets checked before it strands you on a highway. In exchange for a few minutes of quiet attention each week, you get something worth far more than the dollars you save, a home and a life that no longer hold hidden threats, that feel, when you walk through them, like they are on your side. We're halfway down the list now, so let me ask you something before we go on. Of the habits so far, which one felt the most like you? The one leak you already know is quietly draining your money? Tell me in the comments. I read them, and I'd love to know where you're starting. And if this way of thinking is landing with you, take a second to tap the like button. It's a small thing, but it's how these quiet ideas find the next person who needs them. Now, let's keep going. Habit 5. Kakeibo, Ja-ji-bo. The money journal number 5 is quieter than the others, but it multiplies all of them because it changes how clearly you see. Kakeibo means household finance ledger, and it's more than 100 years old, created by one of Japan's first female journalists. What makes it different from every budgeting app you've ever downloaded is one simple thing: you write it by hand. A pen, a notebook, a few minutes at the end of the day, and here's why that small difference changes everything. An app tracks your money for you, and in doing so, it quietly lets you look away. And looking away is exactly how money slips out of a life. Writing by hand won't let you look away. You sit down in the evening and answer 4 short questions. How much did I have? How much did I spend? How much do I want to keep? And what will I change tomorrow? That's the whole method. But people who do it often cut their spending 20 or 30% in the first few months, not through deprivation, but because they finally see clearly. The pen is slower than the app, and that slowness is the entire point. It gives each purchase a moment to be felt before it's forgotten, until spending stops being something that happens to you and quietly becomes something you choose. Habit 4. Mottainai. The refusal to waste. Number 4. Closes 100 tiny leaks you've stopped even noticing. It's called Mottainai, often translated as, what a waste. But that barely scratches the surface. Mottainai is a feeling, the quiet ache you feel when something with life still left in it is thrown away. Vegetables left to soften in the back of the fridge. A jacket discarded because of a single loose button. Leftovers scraped into the bin. In Japan, Mottainai is taught to children the way manners are until it becomes instinct, and here is the financial magic of it. A person who feels Mottainai doesn't need discipline to stop wasting because waste itself becomes uncomfortable. They use the whole vegetable. They wear the jacket for 15 years. They repair before they replace. Think about how much of your money leaves not through big purchases, but through small wastes. Food that spoils, things bought twice because the first was lost in the clutter, energy burning in empty rooms. Waste is spending that already happened. Spending you confirm by letting the thing go unused. Mottainai simply makes that invisible spending visible again. And the money you don't waste is the easiest money you'll ever save, because you never had to earn it back. Picture the last vegetable that softened and spoiled in your fridge, unnoticed until you threw it out. That was money quietly leaving your home. Picture the leftovers scraped into the bin, the half-used bottle discarded, the good thing given up on because a newer one caught your eye. None of it feels like spending in the moment, and that's what makes it so easy to ignore. But here is the quiet gift inside Mottainai. A person who wastes less doesn't live a smaller life. They live a fuller one because they actually use the things they've chosen. They finish what they start, and they move through their days with a sense that nothing is slipping through their fingers. There's a wholeness to it, a feeling that your life is intact rather than leaking, and that feeling turns out to be worth as much as the money it saves. Habit 3. Ofuro, the shared bath. Number 3 looks at first like it's only about a utility bill, but it teaches something far larger. It's the Ofuro, the Japanese bath. In most Western homes, bathing is private and slightly wasteful. Each person fills a tub or runs a long, hot shower, and the water, warmed with expensive energy, is used once and sent down the drain. In Japan, the bath is something else. The water is heated once in the evening, and the whole family uses the same clean, deep, warm bath, one after another. Because you wash yourself before entering, the water stays clean. One heating, one tub, an entire household. And in many homes that water is used again the next morning to wash clothes. The savings on water and energy are real, and they add up year after year. But the deeper value is what it teaches. Think about what a child absorbs from that evening ritual year after year, not a lecture about being frugal, just the lived experience of warmth being made once and shared fully, of a resource treated with quiet respect. That child grows up unable to imagine wasting, not because they were told not to, but because they never learned to. The deepest savings don't come from restriction. They come from a mind shaped, long before it ever thought about money, to use things fully and to find comfort in enough. And this is the secret that budgeting will never teach you. You can force yourself onto a strict plan, you can white-knuckle your way through a frugal month, but the moment the pressure lifts, the old spending rushes back in, because nothing underneath actually changed. The Ofuro changes what's underneath. It's not a rule you follow. It's a way of being that seeps in so gently no one even notices they're learning it, a warm bath at the end of the day teaching, without a single word, that comfort and thrift are not enemies, that warmth can be shared without being diminished. The people who save the most are not the ones who think about money constantly. They're the ones for whom careful living has become as natural and as pleasant as sinking into warm water at the end of a long day. Habit 2. Kintsugi, Jinji-gi. Repair, don't replace. Number 2 turns a broken thing into a saved dollar and into something beautiful. It's called Kintsugi, the art of repairing broken pottery with golden lacquer, so the cracks are not hidden but honored, traced in gold, made into the most beautiful part of the object. As a money habit, Kintsugi is the deep instinct to repair rather than replace. In the disposable world, a crack means the end. You throw the thing away and buy a new one, and the money flows out again. The Kintsugi mind sees a crack as an invitation. Can this be mended? Can this be given another life? Think of how much money leaves your life through the simple assumption that broken means finished, the appliance tossed for a cheap part, the garment abandoned for a torn seam, the shoe discarded when a cobbler could have saved it. Kintsugi asks you to pause at the moment of breaking and consider repair first. And in doing so, it quietly saves you the cost of endless replacement, while teaching you something a new object never could, that the things we mend we tend to keep, and the things we keep we tend to need less of. There's a strange thing that happens when you repair something with your own hands, or pay a little to have it repaired. You become attached to it. The effort you put in gives the object a value that has nothing to do with its price. A mended chair, a resoled shoe, a patched jacket, these carry a history, a small proof that you cared enough to save them. And an object you're attached to is one you don't itch to replace. So Kintsugi saves you twice, once on the cost of the new thing you didn't buy, and again on all the future things you won't feel the need to chase, because you've learned that the things already in your life are worth keeping. In a world built to make you throw everything away, choosing to mend is quietly one of the most radical and most freeing things you can do. Habit 1, Ma Jian, the comfort with empty space. And number 1 saves the least in any single month, yet it holds all the others together, so I saved it for last. It's called Ma, the Japanese idea of negative space, the emptiness between things, the pause between notes in music, the silence that gives words their meaning. In a Japanese room, the empty space is not a lack, it's the most valuable part. And here is how a ma becomes a money habit. Most spending in modern life is an attempt to fill a space, an empty evening, an empty room, an empty feeling. We buy things to fill the gaps. Ma teaches the opposite, that the empty space is not a problem to be solved, but a thing of value to be protected. A person who understands Ma doesn't feel the constant itch to fill their home, their calendar, and their life with more. They leave room. They let the empty evening simply be empty and find it restful rather than lacking. And in that comfort with emptiness, the last great source of unnecessary spending dissolves, because almost everything we buy that we later regret, we bought to fill a space that didn't actually need filling. Ma is the habit of leaving the space alone, and once you can do that, you no longer need most of what you used to buy. Watch yourself the next time you feel the urge to buy something you don't really need, and you'll often find a small emptiness underneath it, a restless evening, a flat mood, a quiet sense that something is missing. We've been taught that the answer is to fill that space, and there's always something for sale to fill it with. But the filling never quite works. The feeling comes back, and so does the urge, and so does the spending. Ma offers a different answer, that the emptiness was never a problem in the first place. Sit with the quiet evening instead of rushing to fill it. Leave the shelf bare and let it breathe, and slowly the restlessness loses its grip. You begin to find the space restful rather than lacking, and a person at peace with empty space has closed the deepest and most expensive habit of all, the endless attempt to buy their way out of a silence that, it turns out, was never asking to be filled. So there they are, 10 habits, none of them about deprivation, none requiring willpower or a single day of feeling poor. Notice what they share. Not one is about earning more. Every one is about living in a way that quietly requires less while giving you more calm, more clarity, more of the peace that comes from a life that isn't fighting itself. Japan figured something out a long time ago, and it translates. Don't try to change everything tomorrow. That's the willpower trap that fails every January. Start with the one at the top, the one that spoke to you most, and let it become as natural as breathing. Then let it bring the next one with it. That's how it works over there, one quiet habit at a time, until one day you look up and realize the life you've built takes care of itself. And so, quietly, does the money.